Yeah. Using all the time. Yeah.
Are we being recorded? Rick?
We are.
As of this point?
Yes.
Okay, meeting is underway. And the first order of business is a review with Cityscape Consultants, and they are online. Gentlemen, welcome. And ladies, gentlemen and ladies. Great.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, not sure what you have in mind as far as the presentation is concerned. We do have your proposal here. So I'll turn it over to you if you would like to take us through that, or what your standard approach might be.
Okay, well, this is Susan Raybold. I am with Cityscape Consultants, and with me is Travis LePage with Federal Engineering. And we have provided to you a response to your request for proposals for a borough-wide wireless communications master plan. Cityscape only consults to local governments, and we specialize in providing unbiased information to our clients who are only local government entities. We do not work for a wireless service provider. We do not do site acquisition. We don't own any towers. We don't provide a service that our clients subscribe to. We only work with local governments to level the playing field on information that they receive from the industry. We've been in business since the late 1990s, and we have offices in Florida, Washington, D.C., North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Oregon. And I'll introduce Travis to you because Travis specializes in public safety. And Travis, I'll let you give a little introduction about federal engineering.
Thanks, Susan. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us present to you this evening. Looking forward to going through our proposal and answering any questions you might have. So to complement Cityscape's services, Federal Engineering has been in business this year 40 years. So we were founded in 1983. We still have the two owners that founded the company are still the principals today. So we haven't been sold or bought or done anything else like that. And much like Cityscape, we do not have any relationships, financial or otherwise, with any equipment manufacturer, vendors, tower companies, anybody that's in the communications industry or anybody at all. So we're completely independent. And what we do for our clients, such as yourselves, is we provide that unbiased, objective assessment and recommendation as to what will be best to get where you want to go and what you want to get accomplished, all within the budgetary and time constraints that everyone has to face. So we're looking forward to discussing this with you and to an exciting project. Susan?
Sure. Thank you, Travis. So one of the main points of your RFP was to address public safety. Public safety can be addressed in two ways. One is through your actual public safety equipment, which is what Travis's group specializes in. And then when you're out in the field or when citizens are in need of help, public safety is typically a concern when they're using their cell phones. Most of the calls that are going to go through to your public safety entities are made from personal wireless service devices. And if you don't have a complete network, then those calls don't go through. And that's what we specialize in. A lot of times, the same locations that you may need for public safety are similar to the locations that the wireless industry needs to go for commercial wireless services. What we can bring to you together is a complete package whereby Travis and his group will look at your public safety, your talk in, your talk out, the infrastructure that you have, where it's located, where your coverage objectives need to be focused in order to have the best public safety coverage from your for police and fire. Cityscape will be looking at the gaps in coverage from the wireless service locations. When we start that, by doing interviews with your public safety personnel and by actually visiting each of the sites personally to assess and gather information about each of those locations. From there, we do our own modeling, and we will show you the gaps from a variety of perspectives and then work with you on the best solution to fill those gaps. We use proprietary software that is based on Cell Expert, which is a European model. We've been using it for over 15 years, and it uses the Esri platform. So if you have Esri as your GIS platform for your mapping, then the product that we come up with for you will be provided to you in map layers at the end of the project for you then to import into your GIS system. Travis, you want to talk a little bit more about public safety?
Yeah, so public safety, as Susan mentioned, public safeties must have push-to-talk communications for incident response. And the industry standard for that is 95% what they call on-street portable coverage. So we know from the previous assessment that was done that in some areas it appears that 95% coverage level may not be met. So one of the things we're going to focus on is, first of all, coverage. So making sure that we do a thorough analysis throughout the borough of the roads primarily and areas of interest, primarily looking at where a lot of the responses are taking place based on the location of the caller and where the incident is, and determining if there is infrastructure in the area that can be leveraged to improve coverage where applicable. The other big part of that is understanding the user's operational requirements. So one of the things we have in our proposal is user interviews, and we like to do that with each one of the disciplines involved: law enforcement, fire, EMS, Department of Public Works, DOT, and others that are major users on your system. Those groups have, although they all have the same requirement of coverage for the most part, they have very, very different requirements and needs as far as the communications that they have and that they use the systems for to accomplish their daily duties. So we will be discussing quantitative and qualitative aspects of their day-to-day duties, what they need, what they would like, what works well today, and what they'd like to see improved. And also one of the things we like to go through at that point is, what does the future look like as far as their operational response, and looking at trends in public safety. Active shooters situations are unfortunately becoming more of a commonplace throughout the nation. So things like that, when you're looking at engineering a future system, we like to try to what we call future proof it, even though that really can't be done 100%. But we do like to know exactly operationally what is driving incident response, and how does the communication systems, everything from the towers and the coverage to the radios that they carry on their belts, the cell phones that they use, and other devices, how does that all complement to allow them to fulfill their obligation to the community to protect the safety of life and property. So coverage and user requirements is a big piece of that. That's something that we'll be taking a look at along with Cityscape as they look at the other aspects of the wireless master plan that you're looking for.
And I just want to add to that, from the Cityscape perspective, the Cityscape side, we'll be using high resolution LiDAR maps that will help us to visualize very clearly your terrain, your tree cover, your buildings, the height of your buildings, the height of your tree canopy, because those are all variables that play into the gap analysis. And we will also be doing a 10-year projection for your wireless master plan. So we'll look at your demographics and your population increases or decreases over the history of the borough, and we'll estimate a 10-year projection for the plan. So the life of the plan will be a minimum of 10 years. when we're finished with it.
Susan and Travis, this is Lucas. Let's get a quick question. You referenced some of the work that's already been done. It seems like you're going to have to duplicate a lot of that. Maybe it's in more detail. There's no way to use any of the mapping that's been done already as kind of a starting point.
You know, we had a study done by an organization called RJM, and they did do actual drive-through mapping. So I think, what is the significance of that, and how would that affect what you're doing?
Well, I'll start with that answer, Travis, and then I'll hand it off to you for your perspective. Cityscape will probably just look at it as a reference as we go through our mapping process, but we don't do drive testing. And the reason we don't use drive testing is because that drive test is only valid for that snapshot in time. It'll change because when you do the drive test, it's collecting data for that exact moment. And so if your time of day changes, if your season changes, if you're not doing drive test every day, 365 days out of the year, you don't get a complete median of or average of what the situation is. So what we do instead is we'll go to the sites, we'll identify who the service providers are on those sites. We're going to show you, let's hypothetically say all 4 service providers have infrastructure in the borough. We'll show you a projected propagation map for AT&T, Dish Wireless, T-Mobile, and Verizon. We're going to do a contrast and comparison to see where the common gaps are and how you can provide a infrastructure and those gaps that are going to be able to be used by all the service providers, and the best way to install the least amount of facilities to get the greatest amount of coverage from those sites. We'll also be looking at a broadband possibility from those same locations. And along the way, we may look at the drive test data to see how it aligns with what we're doing. But we use propagation software that is, in my opinion, superior to what the wireless providers use. And we're going to have more precise detail than what you have with your drive test.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll add to that. So I wouldn't say that the RJM assessment is irrelevant. What we will use it for is 2 things. First of all, when I mentioned about doing the user interviews, we'll use it as a qualitative check mark. So the maps that there's a couple of 2-way maps in that report. One of the things we'll do is we'll reference that map in our during our user interviews, and ask the users to confirm if those areas that were identified on those test maps are indeed what they find to have poor areas of poor coverage or non-existent coverage. So we'll use it with that respect. And the other quantitative piece that we'll use those empirical studies for is to calibrate our model, as Susan mentioned. So we will use it as a benchmark, as the coverage baseline, and identify whether there are any anomalies, variances, et cetera. And if we do notice any of those are areas and things we'll drill down into to understand why we're seeing those differences in order to make the coverage predictions that we are doing as accurate and realistic in time as possible. So it's actually good that you have that in my opinion. Most clients we work with do not have an existing recent study to work from. So I think it's a very good reference that we can use and leverage to refine and pinpoint areas within the borough that really need to be looked at closely.
So have you my question would be like, have you done any similar studies from other communities? I believe that the borough situation it's not that unique. So probably because our residents may have the concern about the safety, but we still want to have the coverage. And for the whole area. So have you done any study on just like have you done anything like a seminar in the past?
Sure, Cityscape has done dozens and dozens of wireless master plans around the United States, from Hawaii and Alaska to New York and Florida and a lot of places in between. And recently, Travis and I'm sorry.
May interrupt, and I want to be quite specific. So right now, and all Borough is facing that today situation that today we want to have a really good coverage, but the residents and have the concern about the safety of like a cell tower or something like that station. So how you can address this kind of question?
We have done projects together recently in Nassau County, Florida, and Bedford, New York, within the last 2 and 3 years. We're continuing to work on a project together, FE and Cityscape, in Nassau County, Florida. Travis?
Yeah, so I apologize. I was having a little trouble hearing some parts of your question, sir. I think you were also asking about, you're talking about concerns of the residents and things as far as coverage goes. And so we've been doing this for 40 years. We've done over 2,500 projects. And most of our clients are repeat clients. Our first client was the state of Montana, and they were back in 1983, and they're still our client. So that tells you a lot. So one of the things, like I mentioned during the user interviews, we're going to talk to the folks from the law enforcement agencies, from the fire service, EMS, DOT, et cetera, those folks who are on the ground out there every day. And we're going to ask them, where are their issues and what are the issues are? What are their concerns? If you're doing a no-knock warrant, that law enforcement officer is going to have a concern about going into a house, especially if it's a subterranean environment or it's heavy concrete. So those are the types of things we discuss with the users when we're going through the questions, so that we can understand not only from the modeling perspective on area coverage or on-street outdoor coverage, but we also take into consideration operational characteristics and requirements of fire service users, especially going into basements and large parking garages and things like that. So it's an all-inclusive investigation and holistic look at the entire RF radio frequency environment.
And Cityscape has included in our proposal a community survey, which has been a very useful tool the last several years that we've been using it. And it's designed to invite the community to be public participants in the process, gives them a voice to what they experience with their wireless devices. It has a multitude of purposes. We use it to, one, gather information about the quality of service and how they rank their service from where they reside, where they work, how they rank their service while they travel throughout the borough. We also have questions with regards to aesthetics and what their concerns are, which types. We give them samples and examples, scenarios of different types of equipment. We ask them to rate and rank that equipment to give us an idea of what their preferences are. We take all of that into consideration as we build out the master plan.
Yeah, one of the things we're careful to do is sometimes, consultants have a kind of a stereotype, like they swoop in and they do a study behind the curtains and then issue a report and then disappear. And a lot of times people say, well, what did they really do, and where did they gather this information, how they gather it, and what are these recommendations that they're presenting? And that's something we don't operate like that. So as Susan mentioned, right from day one, we're on site, we meet with you and we talk to the folks. We understand, what is the real life scenario here? What is the day-to-day pain points? And what is ultimately is a strategic plan. I consider it to be, you're at the end of the day, you're delivering a service to the citizens and the taxpayers of your borough. And that is providing and making available facilities for the wireless carriers to provide ample coverage and future services to them, and also, of course, for the public safety component of that. So we really focus on what is the end game, what is the end result, and if we are residents there, what would we require or desire of these systems to support in order for us to live our most productive lives and have the safety that we require as well.
And I should add too that we don't have a cookie cutter recipe for all of our projects. We start with the information that we gather in the community and we go from there. All of our master plans have turned out to be different with every community because every community is different. And we want to do the same with the borough with the borough. Excuse me. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so I was taking a look at your Fort Collins deliverable. Fort Collins is a pretty flat topography in comparison. I know there's mountains in the background and everything. I've actually spent some time there. So break apart the terrain being very mountainous and very, we have some places where it's like 1,200 feet above elevation, above sea level, some places where it like drops dramatically. Do you have any clients where you've municipalities where you've done deliverables for them similar to the Fort Collins ones that are in a more mountainous region?
Oh, sure. We're working right now with
Of a small size city, like a
I'm sorry.
of like a smaller town, like a 15 to 25,000 population type of setting. That's
Sure. So Juneau, Alaska is, well, it might be the capital of Alaska. It's actually not got that many people that live there year round. So the population is probably similar to you. And we did a wireless master plan in Juneau, and they had significant terrain challenges. And right now we're working in Springdale, Arizona, which is next to Mount Zion National Park. And there's significant ridge lines and topo in that region. That's a project that we're working on right now. And their population is very similar, and their geographic area is very similar to you.
okay. Is the Juneau one completed, or
Sure. Mm-hmm.
could we probably get a copy of that? I guess.
Sure. I'd be happy to provide it to you.
Okay. And then in terms of, I was in the report I was reading that your firm had testified, I guess, with a municipality. What can you tell us about that experience? Just some context about it.
We testify frequently at public hearings for new tower applications and answer questions with regards to the infrastructure that's being installed. So if one of the services that we are available to be hired for is to do third-party reviews when new applications come in. And we do a thorough review with regards to the height that's being requested, the type of service that's being provided, the coverage footprint. Is there a location that would be better than what's being proposed? And we'll do the report, and then we will attend the public hearing, provide expert testimony regarding that application, and answer questions if there are questions from the community with regards to the application.
Okay. One last question. So after coming up with a deliverable, like the Fort Collins or the Juneau one, what's the expectation? Is there like a handoff, or is the onus on the municipality to contact like an SBA or wireless provider to take that next step?
Mm-hmm. Well, it all depends on how the gap analysis turns out. So if you're amicable to using public property to fill in the gap, and there happens to be public property in the area where a new facility could go that would benefit your emergency management services and commercial wireless services, we can help you draft an RFP. We've done that for a number of communities. We've walked with them along that journey of getting bids. You don't want to just go with the first offer that you get. It's best to go with an RFP and see what the industry is going to come back to you with. Puts you in a better position of power and bargaining strength for that new facility, so that one, you're in control of really where it goes, how it looks, how it's maintained, and you get revenue from that to help cover the cost of the installation, and can be a long-term revenue source for the community for a very long time.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm sure you're aware is your RFP does require implementation support. So that could be a short, midterm, and long-term type of an arrangement. So yeah, we understand you don't want to have us provide the recommendations and then kind of just shovel it up to your doorstep and drop it off. So that's something that in the proposal is covered as well.
My name is Dennis. I'm the mayor, Dennis O'Keefe. You specifically said that you talked to police, fire, EMS. Can you give a little example of what kind of questions you ask them? What are you trying to determine? What are you trying to pull from them as for information?
Yeah, so our questions, we structure our questions depend on who we're talking to, of course, because as I mentioned, every user group, and as you know, they're not the same. So we're looking to speak with them about operational requirements. So number one, we go everything from, again, what do they do on a day-to-day basis most often? Where do they go? What kind of communications are they having with dispatch and with each other? Do they have tactical communications for like fire ground services when they have direct mode communications inside of a building? Other things that we discuss is how involved is dispatch in communications? Is there encryption required for law enforcement services? Do they have capacity issues on the system when they go to push to talk? Do they receive a denial tone, or do they have to wait to transmit? Do they have noise interference issues during communications? How long are those communications typically done? And it's in an environment where you are with the terrain. Is something like vehicular repeaters in the vehicles. Would that be a suitable solution, or has that been tried? And does it work, or doesn't it work for them? So basically all the operational and also technical characteristics down to, does your battery last the full entire 8, 12 or longer hour shift that you have to do? So the information that we're really looking to glean from them is, again, what are they doing? How are they doing it? What works? What doesn't work? And also, as I mentioned, is the future-proof question. We always finish with, well, what would you like to see in a future system that your current system does not provide today? And that usually opens up the door for a lot of different things. And we set the expectations appropriately, at the beginning, as far as what is the scope of the study and what could the expected results be, so that we're not setting you up in an uncomfortable position where you have users coming to you a year or so down the road saying, well, we talked to these consultants and they told us they were going to do all this stuff and we haven't seen it yet. So we're very clear and work with you closely on tailoring the questions. We provide the questions ahead of time to you to distribute to them, so that those folks are prepared to have the right people in the room and hopefully have some answers and responses to the things we're looking for.
Thank you. It's very detailed and comprehensive. Thank you very much for that answer.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other questions, Council? We thank you very much, and we will get back to you.
Well,
Very
thank
well.
you
Thanks,
very
everyone.
much.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. We look forward to working with the Borough of Franklin Park. And if you have any questions after your meeting, feel free to send them through Reg, and we're happy to respond to them. And I'll get the document from Juno to you this evening. You'll have it shortly.
Thanks, Susan.
All right. Have a good evening. Thank you again for inviting us to speak to you tonight.
We've got Brian Seidel on. I just asked him to unmute.
Okay. Next on the agenda is Seidel Planning and Design, and I guess it's Brian Seidel.
That's correct. Hi. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
We have your proposal, and so we'll invite you to tell us a little about yourself and the proposal, if you would, please.
Sure. Well, you received our proposal. Generally, we are a land planning firm. We work in all aspects of zoning, all types of uses, residential, commercial, industrial, and we have extensive experience in the telecommunications industry. Started the business back in 2005 and have basically developed a niche in the telecommunications industry ever since then. We have represented a number of projects with tower companies, with wireless carriers, for telecommunications facilities, wireless communications facilities, and a variety of different situations: rooftops, new towers, small cells, DAS infrastructure. Our background is being planners. We have a very good handle on zoning regulations and the impact of those zoning regulations. Numerous cases we have reviewed zoning and identified problems with the zoning regulations that we either prohibited the siting of towers or a compliant ability to site towers. And along with that, it's beneficial in terms of writing those regulations as well, because we have that full spectrum of aspects and visibility into these type of sites. So we do represent municipalities for projects, as well as having relationships with the telecommunications industry and carriers, tower companies, radio frequency engineers. We provided a packet of information that shows our experience, both in terms of municipalities throughout a variety of states that we have provided testimony and have received or provided testimony and have experience. I will say we've actually looked at the golf course in Franklin Park Borough for, I believe, 3 different companies that we did photo simulations or looked at alternatives of where that could be sited within the borough. We provided examples in our packet of a number of tower sites that we did provide testimony on, and we did that to also include the exhibits. As a firm, we're very heavily reliant on our graphics, and we believe we do a very good job of explaining and telling a story based on our graphics, analysis of zoning, depictions of photographs, simulations, aerial photography, the impacts on a community based on the aerial photography and what's shown in that area. So that's really a high-level overview of us and our firm. I believe Wes Beers is also on the line. He's with our firm as well. But we're happy to hear any questions you might have about us or any answers we can answer for you regarding your RFP.
Wants to go first?
Yes, I will. Brian, did you have a chance to look at the RJM wireless study that we had commissioned, and what were your thoughts on that?
It's a good general overview in terms of identifying general locations. My initial thought, based on the alternatives, or the different scenarios that could be provided, based on the population, based on the topography, I think a scenario with a number of small cell installations, while it may be very favorable for the borough, I'm not sure it's going to be as feasible for a tower company or a wireless company to implement. I think a better solution, a more realistic solution, is a few well-designed and well-sited, what I'd refer to as macro sites, or towers, full-blown towers that could be provided to accommodate that coverage.
Okay. In terms of that study, do you anticipate duplicating any efforts in terms of the mapping and the coverage testing? Is that something that you're going to need to do as well?
No, I don't I don't anticipate duplicating any efforts for what was previously completed in that report. We do have relationships with our own radio frequency engineers that represent a variety of the carriers. So it would be an opportunity to refer back to them with our plan and our solution, what their thoughts are on certain areas to make sure that we're in the ballpark, and find appropriate locations for the carriers. Not to come up with just a solution for this is a great location for the borough, but what also meets the technological needs for the wireless carriers.
Thank you.
You
Yes.
I saw you moving there.
All right. So, yeah, thanks for meeting with us. Give examples of deliverables. I guess at the end of this engagement, there's like a deliverable, right? Like a master, like sort of like consulting report, right? So do you have any examples from these municipalities, like of similar terrain? And as you did like a lot of kind of all over the Northeast. I don't want to look at one that's mountainous.
Yeah, if I'm understanding, you're asking for what's an example of the deliverable that we could provide? So honestly, I think there's a couple different ways we could go. We could go with a very detailed written report. Some of the other scenarios that we have provided have been simple maps or a series of maps. We do heavily rely on GIS in terms of work within our office to identify property parameters, property districts, zoning boundaries, and also topography. And topography and vegetation play a considerable role in siting of wireless communications facilities. So what we have done on other projects is identify a series of maps. The first one might be zoning. Here's your zoning that says this is where towers can be. Here are the impacts of the regulations based on those setbacks. Based on the borough setback regulations, that narrows it down from, let's just say 100 properties that are correctly zoned to accommodate towers. And now we boil it down and say, now there's only 8 properties that are viable because of all the setback regulations. And we can kind of identify from there, just with mapping, where the appropriate locations are. From there, I think we could look at the zoning regulations and work with the borough to say, are there any modifications that need to be made to the regulations to accommodate the siting and to accommodate the strategic location for the siting of those towers. So simply said, I don't prefer preparing plans that are a 30 or 50 page document that gets set on a shelf that nobody reads or nobody understands. I'd prefer to relate them back to graphic maps to clearly explain where the sites need to go and what the impacts are with a short and simple narrative.
So is that what you did for Swickley Heights? I believe that I believe that's one of your clients.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It looks like you did Swickley Heights and Plum Borough. Are those something you can share with us? Swickley Heights is right next to us.
Similar terrain.
Correct. Yes.
Is that project still in progress, or is that complete? Like, if it's complete, can you speak to it? We just want to get an understanding what to expect and what should.
When you're referring to. Sure. When you're referring to projects, are you referring to the municipal experience list?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the municipal experience list encompasses a variety of different projects, project types. And there may have been aspects of a project that we worked on. So the municipal experience list that I provided isn't necessarily master plans for wireless communications facilities that we provided in all of those municipalities. It may have been simply testimony. It could have been consulting It could have been simulations, or just a zoning analysis. So for the Sewickley Heights, what we did do for that one was photographic simulations. We prepared a balloon test, and we did a zoning analysis to accompany the zoning application there, but there was not a full-blown report.
In addition to that, I'd also add that we have experience in Allegheny County, the Pittsburgh region, Western PA, and Ohio as well. So we're fairly familiar with the unique topography that Allegheny County has.
What is a balloon test?
I'm sorry?
What is a balloon test?
A balloon is tethered to the ground and flown in the air, and it is a way for us to evaluate the visual impact assessment. We drive around different neighborhoods or target areas to determine if the balloon's visible or not. If the balloon is visible, then a tower will likely be visible.
There's actually different aspects to that. You know, it's generally what we refer to as a visibility assessment. We can do the balloon test, and as Wes described, you know, we take a scientific approach to it. We fill a large red balloon with helium, inflate it to a diameter of 4 feet, tether it to the ground, and then if we're proposing a 120-foot tall tower, we fly the balloon to 120 feet in height, so we can observe that visual impact. Using the GIS technology that I referenced earlier, we've also been very successful in providing desktop viewshed assessments that takes into account vegetation and terrain, so we can identify a tower and a location on the map, assign a height to it, and then determine where it will be potentially visible.
Hey, I'm Brian, and I just have a question. So you probably have I've looked at the all boroughs information. So my question would be like, based on your estimate, and so how long will it take you like to complete this wireless communication master plan if Borough and not agree to, work with your company? What would be the estimate? Like how long will it take to complete this?
Sure. Well, we did provide an estimate with our proposal, but again, I think that would be subject to further review with the borough to see, what I suggested is more of a graphic heavy type of analysis. If the borough is looking for a more detailed, thorough plan, I believe that would be consistent with the proposal and the estimate that we provided. If we turn this into more of an analysis and a series of graphics and maps, I believe we can probably reduce the fee and reduce the scope of services and arguably expedite the process here as well.
Yeah, the proposal has it in 6 months.
Yeah, and I want to also follow up with Luke's question about regarding the RGM. Since that we have completed that today, we have completed the RGM and report. So what I'm thinking is that today, will you be able to use some data from that report and just like to help to move this little bit fast, just like and to get the plan like completed fast, or you still need to have your own data, like for example, do some new study and or talk with someone or whatever,
I'm sorry. The question is, can we utilize the existing study that was provided?
Yeah, it's called RGM, right? RGM wireless. Yeah.
Yes, I believe I believe the study that was provided is a good guide and it's a good starting block. So yeah, yes, I do believe the information is very helpful. I believe we'll go back and, maybe build on that based on some more terrain information that we see from property records. A radio frequency engineer looks at things differently than we do as planners. Certain aspects do go hand in hand. So there's certain aspects that we will go back and look at in their report to see if we believe it works from a planning perspective as well.
So the information you provided to us, you came up with some concepts, right? So you mentioned a few times you're very visual. So there's a clock tower, Glendora Clock Tower. It's in Gloucester Township, New Jersey. Can you speak to how'd you come up with that design? One, I mean, was there a clock tower there that you take back off of, and is this a functioning clock tower or?
That was actually a fun project for us. It started out, we were retained to support it with planning testimony. We also prepared we conducted a balloon test for that site to prepare photo simulations. The initial discussion was that the desire was just to put a monopole outside the fire company. And as part of the process and going through that, it was determined, basically it's a very heavy residential area. There's residential properties in very close proximity. So it was just a preference that this not resemble an actual tower. Based on the location, other scenarios, looking at a monopine or a stealth design tree, so to speak, certainly didn't fit there. So we developed, our office actually developed the concept, and we understood the height limitations and requirements and the structure parameters that are required to go around the antenna. So we developed that concept, and then based on the concept, once it was approved in zoning, it went in and was further designed. So the picture that we provided in that comparison is the comparison between our original concept and an actual photograph of what was built out on the site.
How tall is that? I'm just curious. Is that like 150 feet or?
Actually, I can't, off the top of my head, I don't recall the exact height. I believe, if I recall, it's 120.
And the actual antennas are not on the outside of this, the different facilities for the emergency and wireless?
Correct. In that scenario, I forget the exact design. It's been a little while, but I think there's actually a tower. They actually constructed the facility and constructed a tower and basically built the shroud or surrounding the tower, so to speak. So the antenna are within that structure, and a portion of the structure has a RF transparent shield, basically, so that it can transmit the RF frequency to provide signal outside of that area.
So is there any degradation of signal or service, or is it very minimal because of this?
It does impact service to some regard, yes. There's also the concept that may want to be identified in terms of co-location. How many wireless carriers do we need to account for? Is this a situation where the reoccurring theme is that one carrier has significant gaps in the area and other carriers do not? If we are looking at facilities, do we need to be looking at capacity for 3 or 4 carriers just to accommodate all the major carriers in the market right now?
And if you recall this particular clock tower project, how was it financed, if you know? Was it the different carriers jumped in on this and paid a lease payment or something to the municipality?
The exact terms of the financial agreement, I'm not sure of. What I can say is that the tower was developed with a specific tower development company that had that lease agreement with the municipality. And as a result of that, any additional carriers that came on, basically the tower company itself managed that tower and that structure. So if another carrier would come along, there would rent be paid to the tower company. I have seen agreements where there is what's referred to as revenue sharing, where a certain portion of the lease or rental payment could be paid back to the property owner. If it were on municipal property, for example, that there would be a revenue sharing component that could be written into certain lease agreements.
I see that was the fire station in the middle of the, yeah.
It's interesting. You have that training tower.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. There's no room for antennas.
No. I wonder if it oh, I don't know.
But a double turret.
That's very strong.
I do have one more question. So, so in your plan, will you provide like a few options to us? That, for example, like we may have a kind of like a different request. For example, like a coverage or something else, or just like will you just like have something like that really this means the different like for example, and different approach or different plan and to provide to us. Do I explain so well? And so because somehow for Borough and sometimes and we may not have a really complete idea of what will be the coverage for each area. So my question would be like, will you take that into the consideration and then provide your plan to us?
So I am having a difficult time hearing you. If I'm understanding you correctly, you're asking about potential for different types of towers or different heights in different areas.
Oh, because it's mentioned before, and our the residents have a big concern regarding the safety or radiation or something like that. So we are trying to take those concerns and into the consideration, and also at the same time we would like to provide the coverage to all areas in the borough, just especially the emergency, like to the police or fire man or something like that. So what I'm asking is like what you can provide this like a different plan and to address our concern and also help get the good coverage for the area.
Yeah, and I think that would be part of our master plan and assessment, right? We would look at not only the previous plans that were provided, but we would look at the entire borough. We'd look at the existing structures that are within the borough and adjacent to the borough to make sure that we're working with an appropriate grid to identify locations where we could facilitate construction of towers. And quite honestly, each individual location, I think we would have to look at from an impact assessment. What is the impact, or what is the visual impact on this area? Is it can we identify, let's just say we're looking at an area that may be, an 1/8 of a mile radius. What is the appropriate location for the siting of a tower in this area? Maybe it's one parcel, maybe it's 4 different parcels, but we'd have to look at those areas. And then, yes, we'd certainly want to speak to emergency management personnel to see what their coverage needs are. We recently just received approval for a site in New Jersey that had a very similar situation. There is clearly a need for all types of coverage there, but most importantly was the emergency service coverage and communications. Residents were dialing 911 for emergencies, and the signal would go out to a tower well beyond the facility, and emergency responders wouldn't get to the site or the site of the problem for 40 minutes because of the bad connection and bad situations on the communication system. We work with a tower company that actually purchased and acquired a FCC license for the township's emergency management personnel to operate their own communication system that would connect to the countywide system there as well. So we're very well aware of the impacts of emergency services as well as regular traditional wireless communications.
I'm Dennis O'Keefe, I'm the mayor. So do you specifically work with emergency services to determine exactly what their issues are with communication and make some and be able to move forward from some of those findings that you find? How do you work with that?
Radio frequency communications are different than wireless communications. I'm not a radio frequency engineer, but I've been involved with enough projects to understand the coverage area for a radio band communication service is significantly different and significantly greater than what can be accommodated through traditional wireless communication services for antenna on the same tower and same pole. So generally, I think our conversation would be to talk to emergency management personnel to understand where their problems are, where their gaps are, and where coverage needs to be provided. And then also find where their existing sites or communications facilities may be located, again, to make sure that we can accommodate them and fit them within an appropriate grid network to reduce the amount of towers.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Very helpful. All right, thank you very much. And we will be in touch, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you for your time.
Everyone. Thank you for your time tonight as well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Okay, open, none. Yeah. Bring this through in. Yeah. What's your? Hey, Mayor, how are you? How are you?
Good.
Hard to see it.
Yeah, that's all right.
You're, number, hey, we have 13 people? Yeah,
Really?
13 people.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I was thinking I was gonna be number one.
You're number one on the list. Yeah, 13 people. So. Nice.
I couldn't. Aaron started a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I started a month ago.
Just to follow up on the presentations, it does say in the RFP that there's a rating system we use, to rate the various proposals. We have two. So I think the next step should be that, everyone on council goes ahead and rates the two proposals, and then we come back in 2 weeks and compare ratings and make determinations how we want to.
Just one overall rating.
Yes, it's in the RFP. It tells you that so many points for this, so many points for that, maximum number of points. So you want to go through, we're just saying it, I think the next step is for each member of council to rate each of the proposals and presentations. In the RFP, there is a rating system used. And then in 2 weeks at the pre-meeting, we share that information and decide how we want to proceed.
So only these two companies.
The two companies were interested. Yeah, when I reached out to 9. So that's it.
And that's part of the RFP to send out that rating.
Yes, the RFP, actually, at the end of the RFP, there's a rating scale that we said we would use.
Send out a spreadsheet to everybody.
Sure, yeah, I can put something in.
Yeah.
No problem at all. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Sorry, John, was your comment?
We're gonna create a spreadsheet to do the rating.
Okay.
And send it out to council. Max.
All right, a short one so far, we'll see how yes, no public hearings as of now. Planning Commission had not met, due to lack of an agenda last month, so nothing has been brought forward in terms of resolutions or public hearings. We do have the ordinance for the general employees pension plan that was introduced. That will be up for a vote. Essentially, Northland Public Library as well. I'm not sure, are they planning to come or give a presentation? I heard they came to Marshall.
We did the budget.
Budget, okay.
They normally show up just to listen.
Yeah.
Hope the motion passes.
Yeah. That's about it.
Hey, Max, on the pension
Yes.
updates, is there, or maybe it's a question for Reed, is there a possibility to get a copy of what the changes are? I mean, it's, I read through it, and I'm
Yeah,
thinking, what's different than what we last,
right.
do we have like a red line or what?
We've had red lines going back and forth, based on the changes, but part of it also, consolidated some changes we made in 2017, that weren't in the overall document. So we can give you, at least a red line or the drafts. I probably, you can run comparisons from word to word, and create a red line, but I don't think we have a Word version of all the amendments that have been passed.
I don't want to be something cumbersome, I'm just trying
Yeah.
to think when I
So
look
just
at it, what.
Take the old one and put your, do the new one and then do the, but when you say Word, no Word, you don't have a Microsoft Word version, so
No.
it's not gonna do that. You have to convert
Right.
it back to Word to do it.
We've got scans of
Yeah.
old
And
ordinance.
it was the old one plus separate amendments.
That was why we put it all out.
It's a total new
Max,
document.
you have people in your tax department, they can convert a PDF back to a Word?
You can, I mean, you
But
can
then you
do that,
Then you can do your file.
depends on the
What's
quality of the
Yeah,
scan
that's
and
right.
those kind of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
It's
So
not
we
that
can
many
try.
pages, it's 40 or 50 pages, but
that's
it's not well filled.
Pauline did that, because we scanned in, and then Pauline,
Frankenstein.
yeah, so then we'd be going backwards.
We could ask Colin if she saved.
I think we might have like her first red line when she put it into Word and red line, but I
Yeah,
don't, yeah.
or if we have her first,
Ooh, then you can drop it back to the original.
yes,
before
yeah,
that
yeah,
red
we
line.
could get it back to what she started with.
Yeah.
I mean, even
Yeah.
just a summary. right?
Yeah, I mean, Tom, you and I can spend half a dozen hours. I'd love to take me back to my old days.
No, I will read through it.
It's a very complex plan with lots of nuances and variations. based upon It covers different people and different types of benefits.
Yeah, what's this conversion of?
It's a tough one to understand.
You can get that through.
We have a full version.
Many meetings, yeah.
I don't think it'll convert, you gotta pay extra for that.
Yeah, there are ways to do it.
We have, I was told Brian, we have a full version of Adobe on our laptop. Let me just-
Right.
You want
We're back to the conversion thing.
Yeah,
We're-
you
I think we
You can
passed
talk to me
that.
afterwards. That's
Yeah, we're
fine.
good. Yeah.
Not much else to question about.
Questions for that? Now, report, Cindy.
I'll have my. Additional? Is there anything additional anybody else?
Budget meeting.
Good job, guys, on that. That's really
Where's Pam?
I was like, Gary has no.
Well,
buttons.
Yeah, bad timing.
Gary should come to stay home on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. He doesn't get any money.
First name I had 3 letters. Tim.
Okay, I go with Robert.
I know that the whole thing kind of centered around giving up the chairs. So.
I know, yes,
Yeah, well.
Here's in the carpeting.
And the-
yeah. Even Donna can come in, very Donna wants to carpet. she wants to chair, and it's like- I'll just get you like a foam cushion, Brian, I can spring for that.
Well, it needs to be moved from one chair to the other, you know, who gets the chair. Yeah.
Okay, Gary, of course, the question of the moment is, what's the update of Inglemoor Heights?
Haven, nothing yet on it. I'm still waiting for an answer from, Mealing Construction when they're in the middle. It'd be nice, I mean, if it was possible, you'd have somebody else in there, but I can't do that through the, them being our bigger one, doing the job, and we get it pretty much at their mercy and whenever they're ready. They're busy, I guess, end of the season, a lot of people, a lot of companies are trying to finish up their jobs, so I talked to him today. He was supposed to get back to me this afternoon. I haven't heard from him, so I'm hoping maybe tomorrow or Friday they call me up and say, hey, we're gonna be in. He was kind of hoping to be sometime next week.
Right, I think the original week ago was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we would need a couple of months stays.
Yeah, and then it's time, they get some,
Asphalt. And you probably saw the counties doing.
yeah, they did the scratch on there, so, at that time, so. I mean, they had decent update. Even in cold weather, though, it's a little tough, the job.
Yeah, what temperature can't you do it?
We could, for us, we can do it at any temperature we want, it's just a matter of how cold,
They were
material
days.
is. The state doesn't allow you to do it after November 1st, because of the weather. But, as long as we get decent weather, we can put it down, the material, it's 350 degrees coming out of plant, as long as keep it warm enough.
Is the milling just a 1-day project, do you think?
Yeah, looking, they should finish in one day. That crew they got is pretty good. I think they can get it done in a day. And, they believe that they can get it out, get in, when they have it finished, so. It's just a matter of getting them in there, so. Just, something else to add in my report, we had talked about the last work session, just to mention, they were talking earlier. Each of you were talking about the speed signs. I was checking the speed signs. Most of the speed signs that I've seen that are ones that are solar powered, you're looking at about $2,800 and up on those, for those signs. That's just about everything I was looking for. Most on an average, they were probably at least $3,000 made on them. Some of the little cheaper ones are down 2,800. So it's, just want to throw that out there. Just good.
Yeah, that's what I saw is after you.
Yeah, there's, so, I mean, it's, you could, probably get into some other ones where you have to supply the batteries and stuff or a power supply for them, but, that's, I don't think you can go that route. The solar power ones that would make most of them. One other thing I have on, we had, this past meeting, the regular council meeting, we passed did the motions on our truck from International, Hunter International. After they've been in business with International since 1938, they got a call the other day and said they're no longer going to be selling International trucks. Anybody that has an ordering, it wasn't paid for, there's no longer there. So now we're going to have to go any other place right now with International. It's called Hill International. They're out of 84 PA. They have a place. They do service work down in Aliquippa. Checking with their prices are higher than what Hunter is. We're looking at, they don't have we did the motions on the extended warranty. We did a motion on the towing. What they're offering is less on the one's 100,000 mile warranty on let me see what I got. I'm just trying to get it right. It's actually cheaper on their exhaust with the emissions part. Their warranty is $2,265, which we were going to pay through Hunters. It was going to be $3,500. It's going to cover 60 months, 5 years, unlimited miles. It's a Navistar dealer. But they want to do that's 100,000 miles on that. The one we were going through Hunters was 150,000 miles. I mean, it was $3,500 there, but theirs is $2,265. So there's price differences here. I'm going to see if they can, warranty wise, they're checking in to see if we can get the same thing, or we can just make motions and maybe, possibly turn this over just to a motion to do it through the Hill International. As of right now, it doesn't look like it's going to be, a go that they're going to give us the same prices. But
How does
see
the
what I can
price for
do on it.
International compare to the other manufacturer if we were to order through Hunter?
How's that?
Peterbilt. How's the new International price compared to the Peterbilt price?
The
Because you're saying they're going
new
to charge
the
us
new
more.
International price we're looking, the one we're looking at right now through Hill International is $4,674 higher than what Hunter's was. Okay, so that's going to put probably in an area, we're probably looking at $15,000 difference between that and the Peterbilt.
Still at 15,000.
Yeah, 15,000 there. But what worries me about, now we're down to one dealer in the area, so it's going to make things probably make things tougher all the way around. And I just, it's some things are going to be just questionable. So I just, like I said, the only thing I do is see if I can match the prices on what we have, but that's entirely up to the council thinks if we want to continue to keep going and say, let's order this International.
They even have a towing package.
Towing package, they have a towing package. Their towing package is a little bit cheaper, but their towing package is not as good as, their towing package only covers a $550 towing fee. And it's good for, it's 60 month unlimited miles. And, it covers $550 on a tow. So if the towing comes out to $650, we gotta pay the difference. So, like I said, the things that they have, it's not the same what Hunters have. You know, Hunters, I guess, they were a bigger company, they probably had ways that they can probably give you a little bit better items out there, a little bit better things on warranty wise and stuff there. In my years, they did it, but. And then the only other thing with them too is through this Hill International, we actually have to sign an agreement that if something happens, if we don't take this truck in 5 years, we're gonna be liable for a $5,000 bill. Is what they have. I mean, that's on this, if you want to see that, Max.
Better and better.
We want to.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so I mean, it's, you know. They're basically waiving, they say that they have they wanted $5,000 down on it when we ordered it, but they're waiving that. It still sounds, from what I'm reading in there, is they still want us to sign that stating that if we do not take that truck for some reason or another, that we would be liable for $5,000.
That sounds like payment.
And I think a lot of them are starting to do that now.
But they're gonna, if you don't take the truck, somebody else is gonna take it, and they're gonna pay more for
Yes.
it than what we pay for it. So that's just not right. Yeah.
That's the way you read on that, Max. It's kind of a little weird. It's kind of weird how they get it written.
Effective June 1st, 2023, Navistar implemented a $5,000 per truck fee for any orders canceled after July 21st, 2023. Because you are a highly valued customer of Hill International Trucks, we are waiving the $5,000 per truck deposit you require for most customers. Signing this, you agree that if you cancel your order for one HV trucks on proposal, blah, 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 you agree to pay the $5,000 per truck cancellation fee. So. They're taking that later, yeah.
It's kind of funny how they get it written there. Like I said, that's how it is. When they hand it to you, see what your thoughts were on it, but.
What's the? How close is Aliquippa to? They got an office in Aliquippa.
Yeah, Aliquippa's
Speaker
County.
County.
Across the river.
84.
Maybe for it's a lot further than that. What's the 5-year plan?
5 year?
Uses them about 5 years.
That you were gonna be ordering it now and taking delivery?
In 5 years.
Hang on, 5 years.
No,
In 2 years.
2 years. Did I say 5?
Yes, yeah.
So do we want to stay with international or go with either?
Well, I kind of, and that's $15,000 higher, but there's things that I just question now with this, with international, you know, shutting them down on that one side through Hunters and, I think I might steer the way as far as going with Peterbilt. But
Sounds right to me.
you know, it's like I said, 15,000 higher than what and we're not gonna be buying the warranties, we're just gonna be, the Peterbilt's gonna come out, the truck, it's gonna be cab and chassis, and then we're gonna pay the $89,000 for the fit on the body and the hydraulics and plow and spreader.
And where's the servicing, service?
For the Peterbilt, that's all, that'd be either up Campbell's Run Road or up in, back out in Hunter's Truck Sales.
Yeah,
we
we worked with for a
4
long
or
time.
5 different locations, so, but they're strictly gonna be Peterbilt.
Yeah,
Instead of hanging out with down in 84.
seems like it makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
All right, let's revive that motion.
Now, if we would add, actually, we thought the last, during that meeting, or during the meeting, as far as leaving that in there, ended up taking it out.
Yeah, we took it out.
If we left it in there, we would have been safe. If it was going to go.
Make sure their price is still good and we can revive that.
Okay.
One other public works item. One other public works item. We received an email from a resident on Mystic Valley. Gary's guys have cut back trees there, but a gentleman sent an email and said that there are still pine trees that block it. And he wanted to know if we could do anything. Our only option would be to cut those pine trees down. So I don't know if you guys want us cutting down pine trees along Nicholson Road or not, but that's the only way to.
Well, if you come out of the Spring Ridge plan, and you look up towards 5 Points, the pine trees are pretty high. They kind of curve out on the top. kind of block the height of the road that's toward the top of the hill. I think there's plenty of sight distance area, you know, it's like any place you go full out. That is a fast area because it's 45-mile-an-hour down through there. We could either, you know, that part there, we could probably cut them trees straight up if everybody, you know, anybody wants to look at that and see. The ones looking the other direction, you're looking towards heading towards Sheets. When you look up the line there, you're gonna see a telephone pole and you're gonna see the trunk, all the trees. It's actually causing the sightline problem going up the hill, heading back towards Sheets, heading north. So like I said, the only thing you could do there is we would have to take them trees probably completely out. We would still have the telephone pole, but it would probably open up the sight distance area.
Those trees are probably in the right of way,
I believe so, yes.
but I'm sure the property owners.
They're like,
trees,
Well, that's always the case, but you still take down.
so they may not be happy when the trees are removed.
that tree is like 2 feet from the road. It's pretty big. I mean, that's the feedback I got is that is problematic when you're gonna turn out. It definitely reduces the sight distance. The other one, I can't remember, like, when I drive around here, it's like not a heavy traffic one. So, I mean, I could check it out again, but definitely the left turn one.
Heading up the hill towards Sheets.
Yeah,
heading north,
and
yeah.
I think we're talking about this.
That's actually the harder, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
little harder to see that. The other, like I said, the other area heading towards 5 Points, heading up towards, Nicholson Woods up in that area. Like I said, if that was trimmed off straight up and down, which a lot of times we don't like to, a lot of times we stop and ask the residents because sometimes if it's on their property, you know, we get a lot of complaints if we're doing it and, you know, so. But I think if we shaved that off, kind of squared it up with the road, you'd be able to see further up the hill, you know, like I said, with that 45 mile-an-hour, most of the people are coming down to at least 50, you know.
Sounds like a bad combination, sightline distance following 45 or 50 miles an hour. Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
You want us to go ahead and do that?
How many trees you find?
I think there was like 2 in there. I'd have to double 2 that's going to the north there, I think, 2 or possibly 3 in there, that we would have to take out. Now, the limbs on the bottom are all cut off, and like I said, it's just in front of the tree, and even when they're out at some point, you're still gonna see the pole there, but I think it's a lot less to look through, so. But I'd have to look at that again too, just to make sure that they're not gonna be up in the wires, because if that's a point there, if we're gonna be in the wires, we're gonna probably have to hire somebody. to come out
Yes,
there.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have.
We can take them out, and, you know, it's on the wire, but,
Yeah.
The resident that's, or residents there, just let them, hey, this is what we're doing for safety reasons and thanks for your patience or
And I
whatever.
know-
Or just let them complain afterwards.
If we go to PennDOT's gonna tell them there are trees anyhow, because they did that down across from Taylor Ridge at one time. They told us if we didn't cut it down, they were gonna charge us. So,
So you want us to remove the tree?
Should we take I mean, I guess we should like take a look at it and see if it's on utility wire. I mean, most likely, yes. You want to check it out one more time?
Yeah.
I've got a lot of complaints about it, so to me, it seems like a safety issue. If you cannot see when you're getting on turn out, and people are coming out 50 plus.
hey, even if we hire somebody to come out and take them down, I'll have them probably get down there and trim those other ones and square those other ones off, heading up towards 5 Points. I think that, like I said, that, you know, because height of our truck might even reach the height of it, you know, the one we have, so. All the way up there to getting all this straightened out. And like I said, I'd have to look at it again, but most likely there's probably gonna be wires involved, or we're probably gonna have to hire somebody to come out to do it, tree service.
Yeah, let's confirm those wires.
Okay.
And then we should check it out.
Yeah. So you're gonna check it out, you, Dave?
Yeah, Dr. Lee and I will check it out because
Okay.
it's our neighborhood.
Let us know what you think.
Right.
Yeah, we'll take a picture. But most likely I'll say yes, but let's confirm it as the wire issue.
There was complaints across the road, we cleaned over the ones over on the other side. You know, it's on mainly pulling out of Spring Ridge plant.
Yeah.
And that's all I have.
Any other questions for Gary? Tim's report's in there, I guess, you can't ask him any questions at this point, so we'll move on to that.
You have my report. Halloween was this past Saturday. Everything went well there. little weather setting up, a little bit of wind, but overall, as soon as the event started, we were clear for the night. And not as cold as it is now. So we'll take it for sure. And then off of that event, we will start probably tomorrow. I will make a post for signups to start for our Santa event. So we will probably start Franklin Park residents on Monday and then non-residents 2 weeks later. Another event that we fill up very, very quickly for. We're usually filled by the time Thanksgiving week even comes around.
When is it?
The Santa event is the 9th, off the top of my head, second Saturday. I believe that's December 9th this year. So like I said, we'll start the registration Monday for residents, and then non-residents will be 2 weeks after that. When we're full. Only other thing is our gear program. I have the hourly reports in there. I have the polling reports. We are starting to learn things. Some issues we're having, and I've talked with Sam about some of them. Some we can control, some we can't. We've had an incident of what we believe is someone spraying in one of the parks, what we believe is a repellent for deer to keep the deer out of the parks and away from the program. And we have a minor issue of somebody who walks their dogs with cowbells on, which obviously stirs up animals. But we have a bigger issue of animals being off leash in the woods. But there's no great way, short of video camera and wasting a lot of time, to track those people down. That's, and these are the nice things we're learning now that we kind of control it. We have that feedback from the people we have out there of these things that may have been going on for years, and we just don't know it because we're not physically in the woods. Now we are physically in the woods and getting these. They're very vocal with me about what they're seeing, what they're not seeing. But where we saw the deer spray happen, we were seeing a lot of deer, and then suddenly it dried up. That's finally.
Yeah, it's interfering with a hunt. I mean, it's a violation of the game laws, and yeah, Zach and I talked about it and told the hunter, call 911, and I let the guys know that there was that complaint. That's one of the parts that doesn't have cameras over that way, and so they weren't even really able to get us a description, but we don't even have cameras in the vicinity to say, if it was a Subaru, we can check. And there's no cameras until you get out towards Sheets.
Would it be hard to get cameras in there?
I know we would like to have cameras in all the parks. I don't think it'd be difficult. It depends on the ability to get internet.
Yeah, I was just sneaking up on the idea. If we really want to have the deer calling program be effective, we probably need to head off people or create a disincentive for messing around with it.
The plan in Acorn is to install cameras as part of our overall project.
Yeah. And then let people know that they're on camera, so maybe they will think twice about interfering.
How'd you pick up on that? How'd you figure that out?
It was a situation where the person had come into the park had left the park, and the hunter had seen him come back in because he was able to see the parking lot, saw him doing things on the trails, and the person actually left, was nice enough to litter and leave their bottle behind of whatever they were spraying.
How about that? So they're doing this to protect deer, quote unquote.
That's the only assumption we can make. I mean, that's the only reason you should be spraying anything that smells like. I mean, that stuff is nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure everybody here has used it on their own plants at their house. That stuff does not smell pleasant. I don't know why you would want to spray it otherwise.
Does that happen more than once?
Not that we've had a report of. I mean, it's, like I said, they know they need to call, they need to alert me, they need to call 911 if it happens again. You know, it's a delicate situation. They don't want to, they didn't feel that they were being physically confronted, so they left it go, finished their day, and then reported it because they didn't want to have a conflict with somebody, which, you know, that's obviously we never want to conflict. But something like that, and he didn't know at the time, obviously, what was happening until he was coming back out. That's my report on that.
Yeah, but can you just outline real quickly what the process is for your calling at this point? Refresh your soul memory with.
So we have a contract that a bunch of our hunters have picked up and have filled out. So we have license plates down to the police force right now. They have to have a certain number of doe tags. They have to have their license numbers and everything. And we're assigning them to areas. We will be rotating as we get into the colder season into other areas of our borough. But we've been heavily over towards Acorn right now, a little bit of Lynbrook, but Lynbrook has still been active with sports. You know, the golf course is still active with golfers. So we've not hit them as heavily just because there's activity happening.
So we keep the statistics on it.
Yeah, hours, and I have the hours in there. I have it individually on a sheet, hours and anything that we take, we keep as well.
Are we able to expand it so that like residents could get a hold of us and say, hey, if there's 4 or 5 of us in our neighborhood, we really want your folks to come in and get these 10 deer that keep showing up at 5 o'clock at night. You know, that's like, is there a way to do that?
We can certainly take a call. The problem is the actual huntable land in our borough is very slim due to setbacks. You know, you're 50 yards from an occupied structure. You know, basically no neighborhoods are going to have.
What we may be able to do is set up something on the website using, we actually have a map that shows the areas where you can't hunt.
Okay.
And we may be able to get that in a readable form on the.
So there'd be pre-qualified.
So people can look and see if that's an area that works. I know Fox Chapel actually has something online where you can submit your information that you want somebody to hunt your property.
Yeah,
So we'll take a look at that and see if we can get that on.
that might work, right?
I know there are some property owners that are aware that they could have their property hunted and already having their property.
I'm pretty sure there's 7 or 8, 10 maybe in our little neck of the woods, and I think that's probably big enough.
Yeah, if you have enough backyards and enough land, yeah, you can combine.
And when you add that to the woods, it probably works. Yeah, it's worth it looking.
So, how many deers have been,
As of tonight, 5.
5?
Here's the 13 all.
I was gonna say, yeah,
It's a good start.
Like I said, it's pretty much, Acorn's been heavily over towards that area, and Blueberry, has had somebody in it a lot. But like I said, even Lynbrook and, you know, like the golf course where 2 heavier areas, we've been pretty light in just due to activity going on.
golf course, it's a lot.
Yeah, golf course will pick up quite a bit in November and December.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, not unfortunately, but we can't hunt in the dark and they can't golf in the dark. So they kind of are battling for daylight. And so it's not worth it to the hunters to go out there for 30 minutes. And even then you're up against it. If you actually hit a deer, then you have to get it out of there by the time somebody would be coming in to golf. So it's kind of on, like I said, we've looked at it like 2 days so far, but haven't really had people out there on a normal.
I've got something to Zach. Zach, as you know, really being my friend, Italy, got a grant from the Pirates to help the blighting. are interested in using on field 4. They emailed me and said that they have 2 proposals. One, please correct me if I'm wrong. One is basically 2 lights using one existing pole and 1 new pole. It's about 40,000. They pay 20 as with the grant. The grant requires them to match it. They also got a second option. So the option 1, the 2 lights, will allow them to play a little longer after dusk. Yes.
It would allow them to play, it's not optimal. Now, just so all the council knows, field 4 is our smallest field in Blueberry. It is generally 8 and under boys. This girl is 8 and under as well. They may go up to 10.
Softball's asking for it too. So
I was going to say, girls may go a little older, but it is, I want to say it may go to 10 and under for softball. But yes, it would be playable with the 2 light poles, but what you're going to cover now is optimal.
So adding a 3rd light pole, to make it completely safe to play, as late as they want, as dark as they want. That's about an additional $12,000. I guess what they're asking us is, are we willing to cover the additional $12,000 if they cover the first 40? I told them I'd bring it up and we'd have a discussion tonight. That's pretty much it. I know things are really tight next year. We talked about lighting and $1 million or something insane. So
so the $1 million quote is changing our current wooden light posts into the metal ones, which they're supposed to be, and changing all of our whatever I guess they're still considered halogens, but into an LED.
Sport LEDs.
Those are the new ones. Those are the LEDs like they have down at some of the Vestal field.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been down there, but we regularly play games down there until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and it's fine. And I think that's what they have is through on that backfield thing.
I was going to say I haven't looked exactly what they have or if they have a mixture of what they have going on right now. I can also tell you that they've already sat down with Reach, Jim, and myself and proposed the same thing. They didn't like my answer apparently, so they're bringing it to you now.
That's that.
What was your answer and why?
My answer is that the borough would not be interested in putting money towards it because it benefits the borough nothing. It only benefits Ingemar Franklin Park Little. We use that field for nothing other than they lease it from us to play on it. So we don't run any events off of it. We don't even run summer camp in the day on it. It literally is a field that they and they alone use.
If you have a device that I think is more valuable from the lease standpoint.
No, because the way their lease is written, they already pay for it for the hours they would be on it.
You might have just some complications with public money over 10,000 in terms of 3 quotes, total project. Sometimes that can be, that's what prevailing wage is supposed to be calculated on, not just a little portion. It can be the full ones that would be.
If you're saying
Back
if we put
if
money
we started, get involved.
What we kept under 10.
Maybe, but then you'd still have the issue of the overall cost, $50,000, $60,000 project, some public money. I don't think the grant would have type of strings attached.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going straight to that.
Seriously.
They don't really do.
There you go. Jack,
they have a snack shack.
Yeah, snack shack.
Please, please. It's council's pleasure. Take the next recommendation.
Yeah, I think the issue is probably not.
That's what it sounds like.
You know, what I wonder is some of, and I know that I've played Rainbow Park way back, whatever. But, you know, today, Martha, you think, is there any opportunity they could fundraise for that?
Well, I think they probably could, and I think as Zach has mentioned before, we talked about it, like, they have a lot of tournaments up there. I think they could probably raise that, but use it. Putting, laid back, I'm not cases with it all. So, I'll go back to them and tell them what we decided, and, you know, offer any assistance outside of government assistance that I can, so we can get it done.
Yeah, I think it's a different discussion, like our football stadium can be used for multiple organizations, multiple sports. We run events out of that stadium. I think what they're talking about is so specific to them and them alone. That's where I don't offer money. And that's why I made the recommendation.
With that matching, doesn't have to be from the borough necessarily, right?
No, I think it's from them.
Yeah, the grant is through them, so it would.
So they can do, I mean, they can do the first two polls for something that, utilizing most of that grant and matching their end. It was just that.
They find out it is.
Yeah, I would think so.
Probably like public safety money like that, but not fair, yeah.
And it will still end up costing us some money probably, because they have to get new power set up in our shed that we have. So it's not going to be, yeah, it's not going to be clean, wipe our hands of it. We will still have to help in some matter of where we're putting the new power grid and things like that, especially if they add a new pole. Well, they're going to have to add
the second pole is
if they add a second pole, then you know, new bridges and boxes and things like that have to go in. We got to make the room for that.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, John, I want to, yes, sir. Yeah, I want to thank Zach, you know, and Nick and Joe for all the work that you guys put into getting that set up for the veterans event. A lot of work at the activity center. The veterans event really turned out extremely well, and I'll talk more about that later, but Zach and I have had a discussion on this, so I'm asking him now for his thoughts. I am seated. We had Senator Robinson there, Rocky Blyer, Senator Robinson introduced Rocky Blyer. So there was a lot going on with speaking. And the system up there didn't work as well as it should have, because it seemed to be intermittent depending upon where you were moving in the room. So Zach and I had a conversation following that, and I asked Zach to give us an idea of what we could do to maybe improve that system. Give it to you, Zach.
What the mayor is referring to is we have wireless mics in that room. The wireless mics are good for about 60% of the room. Where the current box is down on the baseball side of the building. So as you're walking away towards the deck side, like I said, you can get about 60 to 70% through the building and it starts falling off. When we put a wireless mic system in there, we put it in as a low cost one because we just don't use it very often. There's absolutely, we could upgrade it to get a good wireless mic system. You're probably looking at $1,000 just to cover that room, because you probably have to have a repeater on the other side of the room to make sure that it does the full size.
Yeah, I remember when we had one of the meetings there before, there's been issues. We have issues with the system in the fire department too. I don't know if it's just a
It's wired. I
Wireless
mean,
mics don't work that well.
they're not
No.
that great. No, they're not. I mean, it's, you only have so many frequencies you can use on them that are, that you have, that fire department have, obviously, the emergency frequencies. These are just kind of almost like talking over CV at this point, that anything can interfere with those lines, and they're down, their wattage and stuff is so low as to not interfere with the important over the airwaves.
Do we have the ability there now to just use a wired mic?
Sure, I mean, you're gonna be, we do have a wired mic. Just a matter of how far you wanna run it forward across the floor. Yeah, usually what we'll try to do is set it up so that, especially when it's a singular speaker, we'll have the stage, or however you wanna call it, at the end where the box is. Now, for the veterans, that wasn't the way to set that up. The way to set that up was the speaker in the middle of the room. And I've talked with Rocky before. I know him from years back. Rocky doesn't stand still. So he likes to wander around, which is great, but that does lead to issues when you're on a wireless mic.
Thanks, Mike. That's cool. Jim's not here. John.
Not much to add to our written report, actually. Relatively up to date. It's in your packet. Going by Branscombe Road, you notice Columbo's there. At their pace, but moving along with the sidewalks. Hope they will be finishing soon. They've been there consistently working out. Hopeful maybe next week or so that we can finish the sidewalks. One part we talked about, come up a little bit earlier. You get comments back from the Conservation District. We can have a response in a week or so here. Keep the process moving there. And those are probably the big ones. But happy to answer questions for our council.
Let's just start it on that second house down there, I guess.
Again, slowly moving along.
You haven't sold the first one, as far as we know, right?
It's done.
It's what?
On.
I think it's a good way to describe it.
They need to cut the weeds on the sidewalk.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good. So be it. It's gonna take them some time. Any questions? Fine. Justin?
I do have one or two updates. We did have a pre-app meeting today with DEP this morning for fish run resubmission. They really didn't have much to add other than just reaffirm that they want us to have the signed easements from Richie prior to resubmitting. But there was a little bit of discussion about there is a MTSA sewer and easement in that valley, and they were just questioning, if MTSA has been notified or will be notified, and certainly they will be notified. But the discussion went further in regards to should there be some sort of easement obtained from MTSA. I've never heard of obtaining an easement for an easement. But
You can, I mean, you can grant an easement over an easement you have.
there is
The stream is in.
I know.
they do have
It's possible, I'd say it makes sense.
they do have the DEP to make it pretty complex, but there are two manholes down the valley, and I'm not super concerned with it, but they're already in the floodplain. They're already during 100-year storm, they would be covered by water. With the changes that we're making, there are changes to the water surface elevation, both up and down in places, but nothing that I'm concerned about. But that was the discussion. It's slightly deeper. I don't quote me, a few inches deeper. We need to let MTSA know that in a 100-year storm, it was previously covered with 5 inches of water, and that will be 10. So need to think about that. But really, That's Fish Run. As soon as we have the signed easements,
And I spoke to Mr. Ritchie today. We had sent him the 2 easement agreements last week for review. They're lengthy. And you can call them today to discuss the fact that they are lengthy and, over his head. So he's going to have an attorney look at them. And he did ask if, the borough would be willing to pay for his attorney to review those easement agreements. He's willing to do this for us and sign them for us. We're not paying for these easements, but he is going to get a quote from his attorney for how much it would cost for the attorney to review the easement agreements. He wants to know if he would pay. He could always say no to the easement agreements, and then we would be screwed.
Then we just paid.
The first one was a little different because it was temporary construction easement to get on, permanent flowage easement, but we have put in conservation easements, and that's what gets real.
Yeah,
That says,
that goes on.
once we do this work, they can't come in and change it or do anything. And it's a tax break for them. It does burden their property, but it is a lengthy document to set that up. But I don't know.
Yeah, he said his plan was probably to live there for 10 years till his children graduate from NA and then move. He doesn't want to burden the property, so when he looks to buy it, says, well, I can't do anything with it. I don't wanna buy it.
Remember the last time, that was the hope to get some money out of the deal. Yeah.
But this easement is along the stream itself, so you really can't do anything there anyway without being here. But, he is willing to work with us on this, and we had to go back to the drawing board now and find another project, we'd be in trouble.
I would give him a blank check. I'd say, how much is this boy gonna charge?
He's gonna send me some information, and then I told him I'd take it to council and they would consider it. He said he wants to do the right thing, he doesn't feel comfortable right now signing them. And I wouldn't either, right? Might be legal.
We're not plowing the street. Lift it up.
That's right.
Okay, go.
Justin Ramble with the discovery of the wetlands that were disturbed. Is that going to be an issue? We think, or
I don't think so. We're just gonna need to find a different spot, staging area. We'll exclude that area of wetlands from our limited disturbance. So it's just separate. We didn't disturb any wetlands, not in our permitted area. Somebody else's problem.
is he going to be in trouble? You think?
Yeah, probably not. I'm not gonna tell you. One other thing I was gonna mention was Dogwood Drive. We did camera that a few weeks back. There's a sewer that goes down over the hill, coincidentally towards Bramblewood. Corrugated metal, bottom is eroded out. So you definitely got flow leaving that pipe, and that pipe is pretty deep, and also very steep. I think that one, given the location, depth, that's water leaving that pipe, potentially into some areas of fill, which could cause bigger problems if it's let go a long time. And that might be something to think about lining sooner rather than later.
How far is it?
How many feet? Amen. Well, we couldn't get all the way throughout.
Yeah, we have to clean that pipe up first.
There's also a pipe.
Concrete in them.
Oh, that's the one.
That's the one running into it. That's up above it coming
It's up
down.
above it.
Yeah, that comes down and then turns into this, the corrugated pipe is the one that's going down in between the two houses. And then it goes down and then it feeds down along Barrington, down into that lower basin down behind Barrington there. But it's just deep over there in between the houses and, that's.
Everything like that.
Well, it's Ramblewood, it's in the Ramblewood plan, it's feeding down. It's
It is a borough road.
And,
So the thought would be to shoot a line through there if they can, if there's no, like, oil or anything. As long as it's smooth, you can get it smooth.
Is that the idea, Justin?
Yeah, they would need to place some sort of material in the voids under the pipe to plug that up. So there'd be a little bit of prep work first, and then you could get a liner through it.
So we should probably, that sounds like a big enough project.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, Gary, how long do you think that is? Couple 100 feet, 300 feet?
Yes. I'd have to look at it again, but it's probably every bit of 200 feet down through there.
The liner would be like.
And it's a 36 inch pipe.
Oh, wait, no, that's a lot more.
So
Forget
we-
that.
So we should be preparing our.
Yeah.
Well, we did that 30 inch pipe down off the, in behind the Borough building, from Nevin down into, Lenore Drive there, and that was $120,000 on that, and that was, I think it was a 30 inch pipe there.
What about the length? Remove the length.
That pipe down there was probably 300 feet.
Okay, so it gives you an idea. It was another over 100,000.
Yeah, it was probably 300, I think.
Wow.
It's the same process.
Same process, yeah, but I'm just, I mean, it's probably in a kind of a tedious area too, I'm not sure what's gonna be involved there. They're gonna have to get in and clean that pipe out. That pipe originally, when it was put in there, whoever did the pipe work when they did Ramblewood plan, there's a lot of areas in there. With Justin Screw, they cambered up above in a couple areas, and there's a lot of bad pipe work in. I mean, it's concrete pipe that's separating in different areas, and a lot of that's all leading down into that valley where the 36 inch pipe is. But it's all concrete pipe around there in that one section. I don't know why they did it, unless that was probably the first piece they put in there, but it's tin pipe. And it had, actually, the tin pipe had it was a tar coated tin pipe, so when you run the camera through there, it actually looks like the metal's all jagged. It's just the tar that's coming off. So it's gonna have to be pressure washed or cleaned out, go with it. You get the liner down through there, so.
Definitely some
It's gonna be some work, it's gonna be some prep work in it, the problem is, if it's in between two houses, I mean, would be actually a big problem for us if it's left.
You don't want to hear the price to dig it. It's definitely.
Yeah,
That's why you do.
It's deep.
this line.
It's deep, and then the reason it comes to the height of that hillside is.
Yeah, since it's a small piece of the overall problem.
Right.
Well, since here, we can talk about the Matterhorn detention facility bid we received, which did come in at $348,000, and we thought it should be about 180.
Yep.
We do have the ability to reject that bid, and Justin believes that we're getting closer on Ramblewood so that we could potentially bid out the two projects together. They obviously won't be done by March next year, but neither will the stream bank restorations. We're going to be asking DEP for forgiveness anyway. The best we can do right now is try to have it all done by the end of next year. So it probably makes sense to bid two together and see if we get a price back out.
Yeah.
And go ahead and reject the bid. Okay. So that'll be what we'll have as a motion to.
Yeah, it's a tough time of year to be working in the basement. It's not cost effective. Trying to make it a little more attractive to more bidders, only one bid. Yeah, maybe if we had, both of them together.
If we could tweak the amended soils aspect so that they could mix it themselves if they wanted. That was one of the things he told us, was that he had a big pile of topsoil and it'd be much cheaper for him to do the job if we let him mix his own amended soil. Because these are infiltration facilities, you have to dig up the dirt that's in there and bring in a mixture of dirt and compost and generally, I think our spec said you basically have to buy it. But this guy was saying it'd be much cheaper if he could just take his huge pile of topsoil and mix the stuff in there. And truck it. I think we should make that an option. In our specs.
Makes sense.
You want a question for? Good. Lieutenant Snyder.
We all have the report and most of what we want to talk about would be in executive session, but if anybody has any questions, because there's a lot of stuff in there, I'm glad to address anything.
I would like the engineers, leave now. And I don't know if council has any questions or any of the ways to try and adjust. Okay. Yes, stick for a minute.
Okay. All right. We Ms. Max. Yes.
The same as police.
Okay.
Executive session.
Only thing I would say is see the launcher not getting burned as soon as possible. Brian suggesting just freeze ours.
We'll get you a new chair.
For us, but
Maybe
not
you'll raise
do the
it.
other. Let's see here.
I remember that.
The board and commission appointments next.
We have the spreadsheet in the packet. A news flash went out today stating that, the usual, we're looking for board members. We sent letters out to the existing board members asking if they're up for reappointment, asking if they want to be reappointed. Everybody's supposed to get back to us by the 15th, which is our public meeting. So hopefully that night I can let you know. I listed applications on that spreadsheet that we've gotten since the beginning of the year. So those are people that have applied previously. I'll let you know who else has applied. I'll let you know who's interested in reappointment. We'll have all the attendance information for each of the people being considered for reappointment, and then you can decide who and when you're interviewing. We've been doing it at the December work session. If you don't have too many interviews, that's up to you. We'll discuss that on the
Letters went out today.
The letters went out to the reappointees this week. I'm trying to remember what day I signed them. I think I signed them yesterday, so I'm not sure if they're not yesterday or today. And then Donna sent out the news flash today. It's posted on the website that we're looking for applications by November 15th.
In the way it works, those interested in reappointment, we can do that too.
We can't.
It's your
You can,
choice.
I think a couple years ago you did, but
You don't have to.
if you've got a number of people applying, you may want to interview all of them together. They're just up for renewal.
And that's one of the reasons we put the attendance on there, so you can see if somebody hasn't been attending or, is attending, in case there is somebody that's interested in the position.
You didn't put the attendance on the letter.
Yeah. We're gathering that now. That's it.
Right.
Yeah, I just have one quick item. It's the Allegheny Land Trust has requested a letter of support. It's in your place tonight. It's two-sided. The front pages, their letter to us, and back pages, just their boilerplate for what we would write. It's for a water quality study at Bixby Creek if they want to do it in conjunction with watershed assessment. Seems to me like a no-brainer.
Yeah. Say yes. Any objections? Okay. So,
I'll do.
okay.
Oh, and the OSSE newsletter in your thing, you may notice that they took over the time.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Oddly enough.
We don't get back on our guy though.
No, no, not unless we come cranberry.
Okay.
I got an easy one.
You good?
Yeah, I've got, just one of the residents, at 2400 Antrim Court, which is that little court right off of West Ingham or, Brant School, whatever. They approached me and said, can we take a look at, whether or not some of the stormwater tie-ins could be done a little bit better? That was their little question. So we can go look and see what you're talking about. But apparently some stormwater drains, they're saying maybe they're a little bit too small, maybe they're not tied in, and when they get their rainstorms, they should notice them hang up. Maybe it just be a backup or just need to be cleaned or something.
Do you have an email on that?
I can get one for you.
It just,
Yeah.
feel over to me, Gary.
You got it. That was it.
You then.
Yeah, just two items. One real quick. So the Wetco that's being built, I know we brought up last time where they cut the road. There's a massive bump in the road right now, so I've started hearing from like people, and when I drive it too, it's pretty bad. People are now starting to swerve out of the lane to like avoid that, kind of like avoiding like a speed bump.
Crossing the double yellow line to do them.
Yeah, the other way.
Okay.
Like,
Is it, so it's not on both sides of the road?
no, it's literally like
It's on the sheet side, right?
it's on the sheet side. It's probably like if this were the lane, it probably covers like this amount. It goes in. I mean, if you're going at like normal speed, you will damage your wheels. So at some point, someone's gonna probably have some damage to people. Did we hear about the owner of the road? Is it the county or no?
That's a
state. Okay. They said anything or?
Was it for a Westview Water Company?
That's what I thought I mentioned, right?
I think Tim mentioned it the last meeting.
Getting Westview Water to patch them.
As far as the damage is concerned,
Yeah.
I think the
They
state.
cut it since we've had the street open ordinance.
You wish.
It's a state road anyway.
Has the state said anything? Have we notified the state or?
Yeah, they haven't said anything yet, so let me find out what's going
Yeah, there's more and more traffic stuff. I'm pretty sure. Everything's in place. And then the other item. I need to talk to Tim. Reach this in the email from earlier. Yogas.
on. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what, speaking of Tim's report said that we not filed any.
We expect any day now to have.
Yeah, so we still.
Apparently there was somebody with a forklift on the property.
Yeah, so I guess it's. I can bring it up.
There, yeah.
Yeah, so a resident reached out to us and said, hey, you know, my husband or neighbor went over to, there's activity happening over there. I mean, to my knowledge, there isn't really like an approved plan to move forward or something.
No
So
permit.
there should be nothing happening there now, but person just went over there, questioned, and they ran off. Something with the septic tank. Some site
And they
thing.
may be doing some prep work.
Are they allowed to do that without like approved plan? and
His
everything?
report says there's no plan to this, so as far as
Yeah.
I know.
But I thought-
Technically not, but the residents will also.
Should find out. what's
Yeah,
going
that's
on.
it, but
You can do prep. I mean, even you're doing a core boring or something like that.
The way they
or
explained it, they
soils
was
test.
forklift, with forklift, I don't know what they.
Why would they be doing that or something with
I
it?
don't
I don't know how you can
lift
do it.
something, or-
it's
It's really not digging.
septic tank,
Digging the entire septic tank up and taking it out.
that's something they could do. But they shouldn't be doing anything. Let me two things, one, you did prep that, that's one, but the other is. Yeah, I need to respond to this person, so I'm just trying to like have to,
Put them in touch with Tim, just
okay,
and just link them up, ask Tim.
Yeah.
all right, it'll be easy.
Yeah, I mean,
You can do, I mean, preliminary stuff, but yeah, I don't know what a forklift. Even if you're moving junk out of your, like, the back, so you don't need to.
I mean, it sounded like getting us in the septic tank.
they were cleaning up the property.
Okay.
Yeah, forklift can be used to dig.
Or one around.
If there's, I know the septic tank is above ground back there and they were trying to remove it, but they could do that.
Okay.
I didn't know they even got one either. They didn't get that far.
Did they see them actually using the equipment on there? Because I know in the past, whoever allowed some equipment to be parked there that was being used down the road. So I don't know, I haven't been out on the road to see that. So I don't know if that's a possibility.
Yeah,
That's always a possibility.
Email this out of the blue.
Okay.
Forklift is a weird.
Yeah, you don't put
We
that
can
on.
take a ride past and see if that's what,
Yeah,
anything going on there.
I don't know how you run up, like, speed off of the fork.
Yeah.
She brought up.
It's a low speed chase.
Yeah.
That's some forklift.
He may know something, sometimes he.
You mentioned that there's students in prep work.
All right. You guys should take a look at this.
Yeah,
See
we'll
what
check
you
out,
see.
see
Okay.
what's over there.
No high-speed bullet chasing that.
Oh, no. We did have a pursuit with a street sweeper. It was DUI back, well, it was maybe 10 years ago now.
In the cameras and they use clean sweeper.
Street sweeper, yeah. It's a tongue twister.
Street sweeper.
Yeah.
The pursuit on foot, I can't imagine taking your car across.
It was very interesting and he was driving that not locally. It was from very far away. And I'm very surprised he made it as far as he did.
Wow.
Sometime if you're interested, I'll tell you this.
Offline.
Yeah.
Mayor and Keith.
Yeah, thank you. I have two items tonight. I continue to get comments of concern from a resident, about the stop sign. People are running a stop sign up at Big Swickling and Fairmont Church Road across from Dragons. We've talked about that before, because it's come up before. And in our previous conversations, we talked about possibly having a flashing stop sign there. I have no idea where that is. A region I have talked about that recently. What it would take to do that, or what we want to do with it. Any problems there?
We sit there all the time and we take enforcement action. I mean, it's just like any other stop sign.
Right.
And when we're there, you get more compliance than when we're not there. It used to be you'd come down there and you could make a right. You didn't have to stop. The stop sign is within my career. There used to not be one there. So, yeah.
That used to just go.
Well, yeah, there was no
stop
stop sign.
sign.
Yeah. And I think Tom Smith from Dragons got in a bad crash down there, and so they put one up there. But yeah, I mean, we sit there all the time. It's one of the posts that we assign the guys, and they sit there and they take enforcement action down there. That's not Reed McCray complaining about it.
I'm sure it is.
Yes.
It is.
I mean, it doesn't stop.
Yeah, we sit. He's either complaining about speeding vehicles, and prior to this last study that you guys have, we did one there, and at that section where he lives, they're not speeding, they're not that excessive. The stop signs, he actually chased a car down, and Rich Diamond had to pull him over as well for his behavior and kind of cautioned him on that. It's one of those places that we sit frequently. So I don't know that investing in a flashing sign. I know people run stop signs no matter where they're at.
I had somebody in today telling me that they want something special on Richard Road because people were blowing through the stop signs there all the time. I mean,
That's crazy. The speed studies you mentioned, that's in our packet.
That's for Georgetown, yes.
Yeah, I was curious. I just had a quick.
Sure.
Is there a machine up while that's going on so they know that there's a speed study?
No, it's just a black box.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Pelican case exchange. No, and we try not to do that.
It would have affected, so everybody.
That would definitely would have affected.
Yeah, okay.
So how do I respond to this? Anyway, we can talk.
Mayor, I can get you some statistics about enforcement and crashes down there. Most of the time when we have accidents, it's not because somebody ran the stop sign and hit another car. It's because they're hammered and they're drunk and they come down and have a crash there. So we have very few accidents as a result of stop sign running. And, we're down there as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, in my last conversation with him, he indicated that his wife almost.
He does that every time. Yeah, Doc almost got hit going to the mail. So, yeah.
Sounds like a people problem, not a stop sign problem.
Yeah.
Somewhat of a broker.
And traffic volumes on all the borough roads have gone up, and that's really what's causing the complaints.
Right.
You can't pull out, not necessarily because the cars are flying. It's just there's a lot more, and it's more of an obstacle to get out. So,
even down there.
Yeah.
So there's not an appetite then by council to put a flashing stop sign up. I get that.
I'm not sure it would make any difference.
So then I'll figure out how to work with it.
And Mayor, I'll get some stats for you to get to.
That's the answer, stats.
Yeah.
Julia.
So I have one more.
Oh, sorry.
We had a great successful, veterans, breakfast on the 14th. A lot of work went into that. And, I'm not gonna provide you all the detail here tonight. I thought I would maybe do a little recap with it on our 15th meeting in the general. But so much work was done by, so many, but Donna especially, I mean, she just never gave up on this thing. I mean, it was like, that was her life. And we did so many nice things for the veterans. We had 40 veterans, 6 of which were World War II veterans. 2 were over 100 years old. And we did some special things to honor them too. Aaron actually helped clean up the whole place. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but it was a great event, and Reach also was involved in all the meetings. I was too. Tom Rooney, who was great help to us in connecting us with a lot of people that brought in contributions, and it was a really great success. A lot of comments that just do this every year. You know, from people as they were leaving, just to honor the veterans. It was a wonderful event for me too, because I'm very patriotic, and veterans deserve all of our thanks. And I'll try a little more information on the 15th, but thank you for all you've done and supporting that event. Very important. And it's our last event. It was our last event for the bicentennial. So that's it.
On the year 201.
I talked to 2 who attended, and they were very appreciative.
Oh, yeah, well, it was very well organized. I was gonna have a little help emceeing, but that person got COVID 3 o'clock Friday afternoon. So we had to restructure what we were doing, and Donna stayed with me all the way to 6:30 at night, just getting it all restructured. So all at once. That's all.
Can I ask Julia now?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so first, I live in Franklin Ridge, right across from Silver Hill Golf Course, and I remember, I don't know when it was, when you were talking about the cell tower a couple of years ago, and there were complaints about 1, radiation, and 2, like decreased value of property. Is there been any like studies on that, or how are we gonna address that?
Yes.
So state law says you can't take that issue, the radiation.
Federal law.
Yeah, federal.
Issue.
Yeah.
You say things, radiation, property values, you know, I mean, it's all site specific. Appraisals, other information. General study, but that's why we've got a third party that knows that stuff, and that's all they do and get into.
Okay, and then the other thing, last Wednesday I got to tour EMS with Chief Bell, and that was just a great experience. Really thankful for him and all the information he's able to give me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
I'm good.
Good. Tom.
Yeah, nothing for the secret.
None of the guys.
Okay. I think we're into executive session at this point. Thanks, everybody.
No, not for this one. Mike,